Hello, my name's Aidan and I'm a data scientist at the Advertising Standards Authority. Two main reasons why data science and AI sort of appealed to me. So, firstly, it's such a fast-paced sort of sector. I mean, there's constantly advances in the technology and new things going on in the field, and that's really exciting. And it sort of offers an opportunity to always learn new stuff. I mean, that's really appealing for a career as you progress through. For there to be new advances and new things to learn about and from. So yeah, that was really appealing to me. And I guess the second point is I think it forms sort of a great jack of all trades technology role. When I first was looking at the job market, I did want to get into technology, but often you're looking at software engineering or databases or cybersecurity. They're all quite niche, whereas data science offers, I think, a blend of a lot of different technology skills. So software engineering or maths or machine learning, data analysis, stakeholder engagement, lots of different stuff. And that keeps it really varied, really exciting, and yeah, something that I wanted to get involved in. So I guess it started at university. So I studied at undergrad a computer science degree, which gave me a really solid foundation in a load of different skills that are really useful for data scientists. So programming, maths, machine learning, that sort of stuff. Once I finished my degree, I actually took a detour into cybersecurity policy, which was good. It was interesting, but I missed applying sort of technical aspects to work. So I transitioned laterally at the company that I was working for at the time into a data science position. And I haven't looked back since. It's coming on to 4 years now being a data scientist, and yeah, I really like it. So I think it will be at the company that I currently work at. I was the first data scientist hired by the head of data science. And what that meant was we had to build out the data science function at our company from scratch. There was no data science function. And that was a big undertaking, but it was really fulfilling. And it's led to the point now where I think we've got one of the leading data science functions for regulators in the UK. And that's incredibly fulfilling. And I'm really proud of that. And it's a big achievement, I think. Oh, it's such a mixed bag, and the variety is one of the reasons why I love it. So, some days I might be doing lots of stakeholder engagement, being meetings all day, scoping projects, following through with projects, that sort of thing. On other days, I might be delivering analysis to people or running trials of different machine learning tools that we're trying to integrate into the organization. And then on some other days, I'll be coding all day. I'll be a programming day, and that's great as well. So the mix, I think, is what keeps it fresh and interesting and fun. So yeah, variety is key. Yeah, I've got something that I struggle with, but I think this extends to the whole sector more broadly. It's keeping up with the rapid advances in the tech. We mentioned previously that that's such a big positive for the sector, but it was also a challenge, right? So with new stuff coming out all the time and new tech advances, that's hard to keep on top of. I guess the big example of recent years is LLMs, right? They've caused such a stir in the scene and been so impactful, but they move at such an incredible pace. It seems like every month there's sort of some new advance in LLM technology, and that can be challenging to keep on top of. But I guess an associated challenge is I think a lot of data scientists can sometimes be blinded by the newest, shiniest piece of technology. And certainly I've been guilty of this in the past as well. But we have to remember that, there's 20, 30 years, maybe longer, of traditional machine learning and data science approaches that can often be as effective, if not more effective, than maybe the newest technology. So I think being able to recognize when the new technology is fit for purpose and will revolutionize your work is important, but also keeping an eye on all the sort of techniques we've built up over the previous decades is really important. And that can be challenging. Oh, this is so hard to predict. I mean, when I first started out 4 or 5 years ago, I couldn't have predicted the state of AI today and the way that LLMs are being used and sort of general purpose AI agents and all this stuff, that was impossible to predict, I think. If I had to give a stab of where it goes in the future, I guess there's a world where we stagnate and the technology stops advancing and we hit the wall of what's sort of technically possible. I think that's unlikely though. And I think with the amount of money that's being poured into research, I think that can only lead to exciting advances. What that looks like, I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine, but I think there's more to come, and that's exciting. So the metaphor I think I'm going to use here is to be a sponge, sort of a knowledge and experience sponge. I think you have to absorb as much knowledge and experience from the people you work with and the projects you're working on as possible. It's such a sort of broad and complex field that you have to sort of take in as much information as possible. That can be overwhelming at times, but it sort of has to be done. I think working on real projects is something that real impactful projects is like a really big thing because that hands-on learning will absolutely accelerate your career and make you learn these skills in a much more practical way. So yeah, be a sponge and get on as many real impactful projects as possible. Yeah, I think so. I think the word or the skill that I'd like to mention is pragmatism, and I don't think this gets talked about much, or maybe not enough. We talked about earlier how often data scientists want to use the sort of newest or shiniest piece of technology. And certainly when I first started out, I was doing that and I was trying to build perfect solutions that would cover every edge case possible and be, super shiny, super cool. That has its place, I guess, but I think really you have to be pragmatic and focus on impactful solutions in a lot of cases. If you have people, toiling away for months and months to build the perfect thing, um, you know, one, that's going to take forever, but two, it might not turn out perfect. Whereas you have people who are maybe a bit more pragmatic, building quick to market, impactful solutions that maybe aren't perfect, but delivering real value. I think that's the balance you've got to strike, practical value versus technical sophistication. And that pragmatism, I think, is really important and probably undervalued. So when I was first transitioning into data science, the person I looked to for a lot of inspiration was the computer scientist and I guess public figure, Andrew Ng. So I learned tons from his fundamental courses on machine learning and data science, and that really helped upskill me. But then as I sort of progressed through my career, I continued to look to him, I guess because he's a pragmatic and balanced practitioner, but also he's like a really great communicator. He can describe really complex concepts and aspects of the field really well, and in sort of simple ways, which I think is a really, really cool skill. And yeah, I still follow him. Sure. I think if I can, I'd like to recommend three resources that I think they were really important for me when I was upskilling into data scientists, and hopefully the same for other people as well. The first is Andrew Ng's machine learning course, as I mentioned previously. That was great for building up machine learning foundations and other sort of data science adjacent skills. The second is another course that I took, which was for maths, because my maths is maybe my weakest element of my skill set. But there's a course called Mathematics for Machine Learning from Imperial College, and that was super useful in upskilling my maths as well. And the final resource is a podcast. So it's a podcast called The Machine Learning Guide. I think it's made by a company called Depth. And this was a really useful resource for learning about different machine learning concepts and data science concepts. But what's really nice about it is it's sort of an audio aid. So you can have this on when you're commuting or when you're doing chores or when you're exercising. And it's sort of another thing to sort of get your hit of sort of data science and machine learning, which was really useful.